Listening Section Directions. The listening section measures your ability to understand conversations and lectures in English. You will hear each conversation and lecture only one time. After your lecture, you will hear some questions about it. Answer the questions based on what the speakers state or imply. You may take notes while you listen. You may use your notes to help you answer the questions. In some questions, you will see this icon. This means that you but not see part of the question. Some questions have special directions, which appear in a gray box. Most questions are worth 1 point. If a question is worth more than 1 point, the directions will indicate how many points you can receive. You will now begin the first part of.
Listen to part of a conversation between a student and an academic advisor. Hi, Sherry. Come on in.
Good morning, Professor Davidson. Sorry I'm a little late.
That's all right. You're my only scheduled appointment this morning. So, what's going on? Are you having some sort of problem? Just want to chat?
Well, the thing is, I'm thinking about changing my major.
Again?
Yes, again. I know. I just changed it to English last semester. But I'm really not... I don't know. I guess I'm just not happy with it. I don't feel very comfortable with the classes I'm taking.
You're a junior now, aren't you? Do you realize that if you change your major now, there's a pretty good chance you won't be able to graduate on time?
I know, but I figure if I take some summer courses this year and take a full load of classes both semesters of my senior year, well, I might be able to get all the credits I need. It's not really a big deal if I need an extra semester to graduate.
I don't know. If I were you, it would be a big deal to me. I'd want to graduate with all my friends and classmates. Besides, an extra semester costs money. Your parents probably won't be too pleased with that.
No, probably not. But when I wanted to change you told me I should follow my heart. You said it was very important that I graduate with a degree that best suits who I am and what I want to be.
Yes, well, I suppose I did say all that, but to be perfectly honest, Sherry, I'm beginning to worry that you might be someone who gives up on things too easily. When you explained to change your major from art to English, I understood where you were coming from, but now, what do you want to change your major to now?
I don't know. History, I guess?
History, you guess. Doesn't sound like you've thought this all the way through.
Well, yeah, I guess I'm really not too sure, but I'm pretty sure that I'm not cut out for English. I'm taking 2 required English courses this semester, and I'm really struggling in both of them.
You're not in danger of failing them, are you?
Oh, no, they're not that bad, but I have to work extra hard just to keep up with the rest of the class, and I'm getting mostly C's on the quizzes, so...
What classes were those? I've got your schedule somewhere here, but my desk is such a mess.
Comparative literature and a seminar on Paradise Lost. And you really should get more organized, Professor Davidson. Look at that pile of paper.
My children are always telling me the same thing. You realize that those are 2 fairly high-level courses, don't you?
Yes, I thought I'd get them over with now and save some of the easier courses for my senior year. So I'll have more time for my job hunt.
That makes good sense. But I don't think you should be worrying so much about struggling with those courses. They're supposed to be challenging. My advice is to be patient. Take some time to think about things. If you still feel like you want to change majors in a week or 2, come see me then.
Okay, I will. I guess it couldn't hurt to think things through.
Now get ready to answer the questions. You may use your notes to help you answer. 1. Why does the student go to see her academic advisor? Number 2. Why is the student considering summer classes? Number 3. What does the advisor tell the student to do? Listen again to part of the conversation. Then answer the question. But now, what do you want to change your major to now?
I don't know. History, I guess?
History, you guess. Doesn't sound like you've thought this all the way through.
Number 4. Advisors say this.
History, you guess.
Number 5. What does the advisor imply when he says this?
But Sherry, that those are two fairly high-level courses, don't you?
Listen to part of a lecture in a biology class.
So last week we talked a little bit about evergreen trees, lose their leaves. Well, today I want to discuss deciduous trees. As you know, they're trees that lose their leaves seasonally. And specifically, I want to discuss the leaves of deciduous trees, their life cycle as it corresponds to the seasons. Since the falling of deciduous trees' leaves in autumn is, biggest difference from evergreens. All right. Well, you can't understand the life cycle of the leaf without first understanding its purpose, what it does. So let's start there. Leaves have a number of purposes like respiration, that is, releasing oxygen and taking in carbon dioxide or transfer helps draw water up through the roots of the tree. But the main job of leaves is to make the trees food. Spring and summer are the seasons when leaves make food for the trees. Here's basically how it works. There's this green pigment, a substance that causes There's a pigment called chlorophyll inside the leaves. The chlorophyll absorbs sunlight, which is turned into energy. Next, this energy is used to turn water and carbon dioxide into sugars, the tree's food. As you may realize from this explanation, there are a couple of important ingredient-making process. You have to have carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight. Now, since carbon dioxide is part of the atmosphere, it's pretty much always available to the tree. But water and sunlight, on the other hand, fluctuate in availability depending on the season. At the end of the summer, deciduous leaves change color and then fall off the tree. You are all probably aware of these facts. But what you may not be aware of is the cause behind these events. Now, first I'll go over the color change. Okay, since chlorophyll is what causes leaves to look green it's reasonable to assume that when leaves change color, that might have something to do with chlorophyll disappearing or something, right? Exactly. Here's what happens. During the fall, the environment changes. There's less sunlight and less water during this season than in the spring and summer. Lack of those essential ingredients causes the food-making process in the leaves to stop. When it stops, the chlorophyll is no longer needed and it disappears. So actually, the colors we see during the fall come from other pigments, other colored substances that are in the leaves. With the chlorophyll, pigments have a chance to show through. Yellow, orange, red, and brown, those typical fall colors. In fact, these pigments are there year-round. You just don't see them during the spring and summer, 'cause, well, they're hidden by all the green chlorophyll that's present then. The second autumn event. After the leaves change color, deciduous trees shed their leaves. Again, the reason for this is that the season changes, and the conditions are no longer right for making food. Right, because without the appropriate amount of light and water, the food-making process cannot be performed. Since the leaves can no longer make food, they're not needed by the tree, so they're shed. What happens is the tree needs to cut back on its water use during the drier, colder seasons of fall and winter, so it stops sending water to the leaves. It closes up the veins connecting the leaves to the leaves grow dry and brittle, and eventually they break off and fall to the ground. So, actually, even though the tree isn't making any new food, without having all those leaves to support, the tree conserves its water and energy resources during the winter months. When When water and sunlight become more available again, the tree's leaves grow back and resume their food-making work. And that's pretty much the life cycle of a deciduous leaf. Each year, new leaves emerge. They, serve their function during spring and summer, when autumn comes around, and soon after fall off when the tree prepares to conserve its resources for the winter. Understand?
Now get ready to answer the questions. You may use your notes to help you answer. Number 6. What aspect of deciduous trees does the press? Number 7. Why does the professor mention transpiration and respiration? Number 8. Which of the following is a factor that causes leaves to stop making food for the tree? Number 9. According to the professor, why is carbon dioxide availability not a factor in autumn leaf loss? Number 10. Why does the professor say?
All right. Well, you can't understand the life cycle of the leaf without first understanding its purpose, what it does. So let's start there.
Number 11. Professor mean when she says this?
Okay, since chlorophyll is what causes leaves to look green during the spring and summer, it's reasonable to assume that when leaves change color, that might have something to do with chlorophyll disappearing or something, right?
Listen to part of a talk in an American culture class.
Last time we discussed the religious practices in Shaker communities. And today we're going to continue talking about the Shakers, but I want to focus on another aspect of Shaker communities. See, they are very well known for producing handmade furniture, like chairs and things. I'll bet that many of you have heard of Shaker furniture. A lot of people admire the work of Shaker craftspeople, and Shaker furniture is well respected. Actually, it has pretty much been adopted as a part of American popular culture. Not only has it evolved into a whole style of furniture, it's also become it's become a form of art. You know, I was visiting the Philadelphia Museum of Art during winter break, a room full of Shaker furniture. So this furniture style gets displayed right along with the work of America's most famous cultural figures, like painters or elite fashion designers. Now, we should probably go over what this style looks like. What are some of the characteristics of Shaker?
It has a really simple look to it. You know, how some furniture has flowers or vines or patterns carved into it? Shaker furniture doesn't have any of that.
Okay, that's a good start. Right. It is relatively simple, as you said. The wood it is carved from hasn't been given any ornament. It has a very humble appearance, which more or less reflects the humble attitude of the Shakers' religious faith. Now, the style developed as New England Shakers were trying to find a way to express their own values through their craftsmanship. And in the 18th century, most of the furniture being produced in New England during this time period was heavily influenced by the things coming out of Europe. So you had a lot of fancy, intricate carvings, very showy. But to the Shakers, all of this symbolized things that their religion disapproved. So, with their own furniture, what they ended up doing was just getting rid of it all. They eliminated any kind of surface decoration and did away with heavy paints and glossy stains.
Yeah, Shaker furniture has a really natural look. Even though it's stained, you can still see the plain.
That's right. The colors used to stain shaker furniture are relatively light, so the look of the wood beneath shows right through. Very simple, right? Now, the forms that the Shakers used in their furniture designs were also very basic. They were essentially concerned with just making furniture that would be durable and useful. Chairs might have a plain back made of a few slats of wood, and a seat made of woven fabric. Keeping with the theme of functionality, Shakers made all different shapes and sizes of furniture to fit many purposes, like chairs for knitting or sewing, low chairs for fitting beneath a table, and taller chairs to use while seated in front of a weaving loom. So, we've covered simplicity and functionality. Now, there's one last aspect of Shaker furniture that I want to mention. The goal of the carpenters was to be very patient and work slowly, making each piece of furniture as though it were the last one you would make. You know, take the time to make it just right. You can see from this mentality that, well, you'd expect that the furniture opportunities would be of the highest caliber. What do you think?
Yeah, the quality of the Shaker furniture I've seen has definitely been amazing. Very well made. It's really nice how the Shaker craftspeople emphasize taking the time to make crafts of the highest quality and making every piece of furniture the best thing. It seems like the rest of American society is not that concerned with those ideas.
That's a good point. This idea of quality goes along with the Shakers' spiritual beliefs, just like simplicity and functionality. They gave each piece of furniture their complete attention, one at a time, making sure that all of the details were perfect, every joint, every corner. The Shakers' religious beliefs taught that hard work was very important and worthwhile.
Now get ready to answer the questions. You may use your notes to help you answer. Number 12. What is the lecture mainly about? Number 13. What contrast does the professor make between European and Shaker furniture? Number 14. According to the professor, how is Shaker furniture usually painted? Number 15. Why does the professor mention the armless chair and the low chair? Listen again to part of and answer the question.
You know, I was visiting the Philadelphia Museum of Art during winter break, and they had this whole room full of Shaker furniture. So this furniture style gets displayed right along with the work of America's most famous cultural figures, like painters or
Number 16. What is the professor's attitude toward Shaker furniture? Listen again to part of the lecture. Then answer the question.
That's right. The colors used to stain Shaker furniture are relatively light, so the look of the wood beneath shows right through. Very simple, right?
Number 17. Why does the professor say this?
Very simple, right?
Listen to part of a conversation between two students.
Hey, David, is everything all right? I didn't see you in class today.
I couldn't make it in time. The city's bus drivers went on strike today. From my home.
Yeah, I saw a story about that on the news last night. Apparently, they'd been planning to do that for some time now.
You don't say. I've been meaning to get cable TV installed in my house, but none of my roommates want to share the bill. I can't pick up any stations at all. So, strike today?
Yeah, pretty much everyone knew. It was even on the radio this morning.
Oh, I don't even have a radio at home. Just my TV.
I wish I had mentioned it to you earlier. I know you take the city bus to class. Sorry, it didn't occur to me to tell you about the strike.
It's not your responsibility to give me all the local news. Anyway, I guess I can just get the notes from today's class from Sandra. We have a study group later.
Oh, wait, I almost forgot. Sheldon gave us a big in-class assignment. It was really hard. I think it's worth a good chunk of our final mark, too.
Are you serious? That's just great. Now what am I going to do? I just barely passed the midterm. I need every mark I can get in this course.
I sympathize. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Why don't you just go talk to the professor? I'm sure she missed class. All you have to do is tell her you had no way of knowing about the strike. She'll probably just get you to complete the assignment right there in her office.
Are you sure about that? I heard that Professor Sheldon is really strict about attendance and the assignments that are given out. I heard she asked him for missing too many classes. I mean, she even seems really uptight in class, you know?
Yeah, she is pretty serious all the time, and she never really smiles. But I really think she'll be fair about this. Besides, what do you really have to lose?
Yeah, I guess you're right. Her office and tell her my situation. For what good it will do me. I can't seem to find the course outline that had her office hours and location.
Oh, her office is nearby. Just go past the student center on the left, and you'll see the faculty building. I think her office is on the 3rd floor. You can always check the registry in the foyer.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
This just isn't your day, is it?
Tell me something I don't know. Boy, am I wiped out. I can't believe I had to walk all the way into school. I think I'd better sit down and relax for a few minutes before dropping by Professor Sheldon's office. Get coffee in the student lounge?
Sorry, I've got a grad committee meeting in 10 minutes.
Suit yourself.
Now get ready to answer the questions. You may use your notes to help you answer. Number 18. What is the man's problem? Number 19. Why was the man unaware of the plan for the bus driver's strike? Number 20. Why is the man worried about speaking to the professor? Listen again to part of the conversation. Then answer the question.
Oh, God. Sheldon gave us a big in-class assignment. It was really hard. I think it's worth a good chunk of our final mark, too.
Oh, no. Are you serious? That's just great. Now what am I going to do? I just barely passed the midterm. I need every mark I can get in.
Number 21. What can be inferred about the man? Listen again to part of the conversation. Then answer the question.
Yeah, she is all the time, and she never really smiles. But I really think she'll be fair about this. Besides, what do you really have to lose?
Number 22. What does the woman mean when she says this?
Besides, what do you really have to lose?
Listen to part of a lecture in a science class.
All right. We've been discussing different applications of centrifuges, machines that spin, using centrifugal force, substances of different densities. Well, today I want to go over the way centrifuges are used in the dairy industry. In the dairy industry, you have a situation where there are lots of consumers creating a huge demand for dairy products, like milk. Anytime you're dealing with product, consistency is really key. But when the scale of your industry's operation is very large, maintaining this consistency can be a little tricky. Say your product is milk. One variable you have to carefully control is the fat content in your products. You know, whole milk, 2% milk, or skim have specific quantities of fat. You want to make sure there is as little variation as possible between batches of the same kinds of milk produced at different plants. And the way you do this is by using a centrifuge for a process called separation, where the cream, the fat, is extracted, leaving behind skim milk. Later, precise amounts of milk fat can be added back into the skim milk. This standardizes the fat content in each of your milk products, 2%, half and half, that kind of thing. Okay, so before the centrifuge came into use, dairy farmers separated milk to perform the process naturally. When it's allowed to set, milk eventually forms two layers, with the fat rising to the surface. Dairy farmers could then skim off the fat and preserve the milk beneath. Of course, the main problem with this process was that it was, well, inefficient. I bet you, because of all that waiting time while gravity separated the skim milk from the cream. When the first cream separator was invented in 1877, it operated as a centrifuge, spinning the milk at a speed of 4,000 revolutions per minute. The cream, which is lighter than the skim milk, middle of the centrifuge, and the skim milk travels to the outer rim. This centrifuge obviously separated the milk much faster than gravity alone, and it was also capable of removing far more fat than the gravity method. It was quite a beneficial invention, and it caught the attention of other scientists who started to work on it. Modern centrifuge separators are huge machines capable of processing millions of pounds of milk per day, and can now remove as much as 99.92% of the fat from the skim milk. This provides dairy producers with a lot of control over exactly how much fat their various milk products contain, so that this fat content will be consistent between different plants and different batches. They'll all meet the same standards. Now, there's another issue dairy producers have to consider. It has to do with preservation of perishable goods, food that will go bad quickly. Since it takes time to transport milk from the dairy and then to process and distribute the milk, dairy products would spoil before they ever reach the consumer if they were left untreated. And this is where the second important use of centrifuges in the dairy industry comes in: clarification. In the commercial milk industry, it is absolutely essential to make sure that would decrease the shelf life of dairy products are removed from the milk before it gets packaged. Milk and bacteria spores are different densities, so they separate when spun at high speeds. Unclarified milk is added to the centrifuge near its edges, and as the liquid is spun around, the outward against the rim. The milk, which is lighter, moves into the middle of the centrifuge and is pumped out. The clarification of milk can extend its shelf life by as much as 25%. As you can see, in the dairy industry, centrifuges perform two very important functions. Separation and clarification help to preserve milk so that the dairy industry can market consistent and long-lasting products.
Now get ready to answer the questions. You may use your notes to help you answer. Number 23. What is the talk mainly about? Number 24. According to the professor, what is the purpose of the separation process? Number 25. How did the first centrifuge improve upon the gravity separation process? Click on two answers. Number 26. The professor mentioned that dairy products are perishable. Listen again to part of the lecture, then answer the question.
All right. We've been to locations of centrifuges, machines that spin, using centrifugal force to separate substances of different densities. Well, today I want to go over the way centrifuges are used in the dairy industry.
Number 27. Why does the professor say this?
Machines that spin, using centrifugal force to separate substances of different densities.
Listen again to part of the lecture. Then,
when it's allowed to set, milk eventually forms two layers, with the fat rising to the surface. Dairy farmers could then skim off the fat and preserve the milk beneath. Of course, the main problem with this process was that it was, well, inefficient. I bet you can imagine.
8. What does the professor mean when he says this?
I bet you can imagine.
Listen to part of a talk in an environmental studies class.
Know that tigers are an endangered species. Several tiger subspecies have already gone extinct, and there are only 5 more surviving subspecies of tigers. All told, the world has lost 90% of its tiger population in the past 100 years. Why is this happening? One big part of the problem is habitat loss. And another big part of the problem, which is related to what I want to discuss today, is poaching. But hunters wouldn't be killing tigers if there weren't a demand for them, right? And that's what we'll focus on. This demand for tigers, use in traditional Chinese medicine. You see, for thousands of years, tiger bones have been used to treat a variety of ailments, like rheumatism, arthritis, and stiffness. Anyway, while it's true that action has been taken over the past few decades to protect the numbers continue to dwindle. It is, of course, illegal to trade tiger parts internationally, thanks to the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, otherwise known as CITES. And a major step forward in the effort to protect tigers happened in 1993 when China banned the domestic tiger trade. This significantly reduced the demand for tiger parts there and in neighboring countries. As awareness rose, it basically became socially unacceptable for people to purchase tiger parts. The ban certainly made it more difficult to take part in the tiger trade, as China imposed harsh penalties on criminals. Now, as I said, continue to dwindle. So if these actions hadn't taken place, I think we can safely say that the tiger would be either extinct or very close to it. Now, considering all this, about the measures taken to protect tigers, what would you say if I told you that China is thinking about reopening its domestic...
But tigers are still endangered.
Well, they wouldn't be actually killing tigers for their parts. See, only the bodies of tigers that died of natural causes could be traded. It would still be illegal to kill tigers. Traded tigers would be ones in captivity, not wild tigers. You see, they've got these tiger farms where tigers are bred and raised to be sold to zoos and such things.
Well, I guess there's no real harm if the tigers aren't being killed. It seems like a waste just to dispose of the bodies of tigers that are already dead.
I think looking at it, does anyone have any thoughts?
You said that the demand for tigers decreased because of the ban. It has become socially unacceptable to buy tiger parts, but if they open up the trade again, people's attitudes might change.
Yes, that's a big concern, actually. Groups that are fighting to protect the tigers and will send the wrong message. If people think it's okay to purchase tiger parts, the demand will skyrocket to a point where those tigers dying of natural causes won't be able to meet it.
Yeah, and that's why they'll limit the market to tigers who die in captivity. Prices, so will the price. Only those who can afford it will be able to buy the tiger parts. I don't see what's wrong with that.
If the demand increases, illegal poaching will increase, right?
Yes, that's the worry. And if there's a legal tiger trade, it'll make it a whole lot easier for illegal trading to take. So groups such as the World Wildlife Federation think that opening up a domestic trade in tigers could spell disaster for the remaining tigers of the world.
Now get ready to answer the questions. You may use your notes to help you answer. Number 29. Discussion mainly about. Number 30. How does the professor introduce the proposal to lift the ban on China's domestic tiger trade? Number 31. Which of the following has helped protect the tiger from extinction? Number 32. According to the professor, what is a major concern related to lifting the ban on the domestic tiger trade in China? List lecture. Then answer the question.
Now, considering all this, about the measures taken to protect tigers, what would you say if I told you that China is thinking about reopening its domestic tiger trade?
But tigers are still endangered.
Number 33. What student? Listen again to part of the lecture. Then answer the question.
You said that the demand for tigers decreased because of the ban. It has become acceptable to buy tiger parts, but if they open up the trade again, people's attitudes might change.
Yes, that's a big concern, actually. Groups that are fighting to protect the tigers say that lifting the ban will send the wrong message. If people think it's okay to purchase tiger parts, the demand will skyrocket. Those tigers dying of natural causes won't be able to meet it.
Number 34. What does the professor imply when he says this?
If people think it's okay to purchase tiger parts, the demand will skyrocket to a point where those tigers dying of natural causes won't be able to meet it.